it's a choice between going for glory and trying to get that last photo versus making the team any safer, I know that I'll make the right decision.
If you'd asked me age 12, what would you like to do? I would have said big mountains, snowy spaces, long journeys.
We might have to think about a plan B.
I think for me it's going to be about capturing the landscape with my camera and being able to take shots of both stills and video of an extraordinary landscape.
Real storm has kicked in.
Tent's gone, the expedition is over.
Beyond coming back alive and being friends, to complete the A to B route, the B retracing, the first ever crossing of Svalbard is something that really appeals to me, to go in their footsteps.
This epic journey to Spitsbergen had its origin, like so many epic journeys before it, among the dreaming spires of Oxford. The inspiration to travel north came, quite by chance, in a lecture hall.
A group of us went to a lecture on a series of expeditions that Oxford undertook to the island of Spitsbergen in the 1920s, and we saw a series of really amazing photos.
These amazing photographs are from a pioneering expedition to Svalbard in the high Arctic in 1923. James and his university friends realised that no one had returned since, to record photographically nearly a century of change.
So we thought it would be a fantastic project to go back and retrace the footsteps of this 1923 expedition, of which people like Sandy Irvine was a part, and I've long admired Sandy Irvine for the amazing accomplishments he achieved in his short life.
The plan all the more compelling as the explorer Sandy Irvine had also attended Merton College, Oxford.
Oxford had a fairly sort of reasonable part in crafting some of the original namings and exploration in the area. And up came these amazing photographs of glaciers in the landscape, unseen since they were originally taken by the original explorers. And so it sort of became obvious that what needed to be done was to go back and see how the landscape had changed in 93 years.
When you're trying to light stoves in really high winds, you don't really want to use a lighter, so you need to use little magnesium flares like that. I was very lucky to be asked to join the Svalbard expedition, which is quite a long way above anything I've ever done before. But I think with adequate preparation, it's certainly something that could be incredibly exciting.
Over here is Team Gardiner and Team William Hart, who are weighing out their food. More food down here, and this is the pièce de résistance.
Will called me up one evening. He had been to a talk about these expeditions from an Oxford bunch that went to Svalbard in 1923, and he said, Liam, we got a group of people together. Do you want to go to the Arctic on an expedition? And this was the night before a big job interview of mine, and I was quite taken aback, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Sounds like a great plan. I had no idea what it was about, no idea really where Svalbard was.
So, in the Western Library, a lesson in geography for Liam. Spitsbergen, which means jagged mountains, is the historical name of the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard. The team knuckled down to the painstaking job of researching the region in detail, in the hope of recreating history. Over the next 9 months, they would spend hundreds of hours meticulously planning and preparing for what seemed like an insurmountable challenge. The team was now taking shape. James Lamb started climbing at the age of 15 and went on to become president of the Oxford University Mountaineering Club, as well as a member of the prestigious Alpine Club and a fellow of the Royal Geographical Society. He is the expedition leader. Jamie Gardiner, an experienced climber, wrote his university thesis on early 20th century Arctic exploration. He therefore focused on the history of the 23 expedition, notably the diaries and original photographs, and the precise coordinates where they were taken, so they could be faithfully repeated. Jamie is the expedition historian and film director. Will Hartz was tasked with teaching the team to ski, having completed several Nordic and alpine ski tours. His travels have taken him from the deserts of the Wahiba Sands to the heights of the Mont Blanc Massif. He has also been president of the Oxford University Exploration Club.
Because breathing is too mainstream.
Will is the expedition medical officer. Liam Garrison has a love of all things outdoors. In 2014, he completed a 2,300-mile cycle tour down the Pacific coast of the US, documenting the journey with his camera. Liam is expedition photographer and filmmaker. The 4 undergraduates would be following in the larger-than-life footsteps of Andrew Sandy Irvine, Geoffrey Milling, Noel Odell and Robert Fraser.
Well, no, second time in the UK, but first time in Oxford. And then it sort of snowballed into something that took over our lives. We basically contacted you as soon as we came up with the idea.
At Merton College Library, James meets Julie Summers, the great niece of Sandy Irvine, to learn more about the man and the 1923 team.
Fantastic.
Look at all the goodies we've got in front of us.
Yeah.
A wealth of documents and artefacts chart the story of Spitsbergen 1923. The photographs they intend to replicate, as well as a treasure trove of letters and appeals for funding.
It's really difficult to retake. Yeah, these are all 23 pictures.
Oh, are they?
So
Okay, that's interesting. So he's
that's a
got
different
picture.
angle. Yeah.
I love this picture of all the oxes.
Among them, a letter from Oxo, offering stock cubes for the journey, and other donations from private individuals.
Oh, look. So there we are. They got donations towards the expedition. £5. What would that have been worth in 23? 40, 60, about 120 quid.
That's not too
Bad
bad.
donation, is it?
No,
Yeah.
quite.
They got some sponsorship with their clothing, didn't they, I think, in 23? I think some of the clothing was
Yes.
supplied for them.
He was the Burberry overalls.
That's right. Look at these
It's,
6 pairs of Shackleton boots.
Well, I think what was interesting about the 23 expedition was there were 2 different age groups. There was Noel Odell and R.A. Fraser, who were in their 30s, and then Sandy and Geoff Milling, who were 20. But what Odell recognised in both Sandy and Geoffrey Milling was a maturity beyond their years, and this ability to shut out all discomfort and simply get on with the job.
Sandy Irvine was also a prodigious rower. He helped Oxford to victory in the 1923 Oxford and Cambridge boat race.
He was one of those useful men to have in a boat who didn't seem to feel the pain of pushing beyond the wall, as the rowers call it. And he regarded his rowing as almost as a religion. He was absolutely passionate about it, and he brought that passion from his rowing into his exploration and expeditions.
In 1924, Irvine was selected to join George Mallory in an attempt to become the first to scale Mount Everest. They were last seen by Noel Odell disappearing into the clouds near the summit.
The big unanswered question is, did Sandy Irvine and George Mallory reach the summit of Mount Everest on the 10th of June 1924? I don't think I'll ever know the answer to that. And you know, I don't think it really matters, because they climbed higher than any man on the planet in 1924.
So these are Sandy's skis from the expedition, which are found in a squash court somewhere.
James unveils another treasure, this time a pair of original 1923 expedition skis, to Peter Odell, whose grandfather Noel was the expedition leader.
How much did you know about the 23 expedition before we got in touch?
I knew of some snippets that my grandfather told me. He did like to talk about equipment.
He's donating the Odell archive to the library by way of tribute. Among the many documents are handwritten diaries, which detail the highs and lows of their epic journey.
Yeah. Shared some great experiences with Sandy Irvine, both on the ice in Spitsbergen and also on Everest in 1924. So it's fitting that they should be in Merton College.
Spitsbergen is home to the world's most northerly settlement. not to mention more than 2,000 glaciers. The team planned to retrace the pioneering 1923 expedition route from Doom Point over hostile and challenging terrain before returning to the fjords of Billen Bay.
What the 23 expedition achieved was the first crossing of Spitsbergen by a British crew, and they were literally walking off the map, and that was very thrilling and dangerous.
Like the 1923 team, the approach to fundraising proved as much about expedition goals as the personality of team members.
Raising that money has been an interesting test because we've begged and borrowed and probably stolen, and everyone has their own strategy. I think some people are rather better at asking people for money than others, and some, like myself, have to kind of switch off your every basic human instinct and just see the merits of the expedition in itself and what we think it offers to the people who are kind enough to support us.
We put a lot of time to fundraising, which obviously is essential for the expedition to go ahead. And there's always a delicate balance between being able to fund the expedition and putting enough time into the other aspects, so logistics and physical training.
As part of our training for pulling massive sledges, we go to the Port Meadow, which is a place in Oxford that's sort of normally for picnics and nice walks, except that we tend to ruin it every Sunday by charging past everyone with these probably 3 4x4 tyres tied to our dragging harnesses and sweating profusely, and everyone seems to stop us and ask us, if we realise that we're dragging the tyres, and we sort of look around and say, no, I didn't realise that. And we get so many weird looks, but it is really good training.
And there were more weird looks and raised eyebrows around the busy streets of Oxford, thanks to the spectacle of team leader James towing a pulk, a type of sledge commonly used in polar expeditions, as part of a fundraising stunt.
There's like people in cars just looking at us. $23.5.
Just how physically demanding it is pulling an 80-90 kilo pulk. We experienced that on our training expedition in Norway, and that's not a small thing to do, especially when you're going up a slope.
In Norway, the training moved up a gear, testing the team's physical endurance to the limits. These were the sorts of conditions they could expect in Svalbard: freezing temperatures, icy terrain, and strong winds.
I enjoyed it rather a lot. I have a few minor battle scars. The Polk has some rather more major battle scars where I flipped it over twice and sheared through the connecting aluminium. But apart from that, it was really good fun.
There was one section yesterday, it was a long uphill slog, almost complete whiteout, and I had the pulk, which was pretty tough. I had to take my skis off towards the end and just walk up because I just couldn't get any grip.
It hasn't snowed for probably about a week here, and it's real icy out there. And then when you do get into the softer stuff, it's real blown and quite dense, so which makes for difficulty on the downhill.
Now we've got less than 4 weeks to go till we leave. We've kind of got everything in place pretty much, and it's now just getting all the kit together, packing it up and going to Svalbard. So I can't quite believe that we've actually got here. It's been a massive challenge.
The team are also finalising clear expedition objectives. To retrace the route of the 1923 expedition, being the first team to follow in their footsteps across the island, while repeating their panoramic photos of the landscape, a process known as rephotography. To conduct scientific research in the region, as Fraser had used then state-of-the-art cameras to create the first map of inland Spitsbergen, the team will use a drone to create ultra-high-resolution maps of the glaciers.
You can just take a shot of the
to climb a number of Spitsbergen's alpine mountains, not only repeating climbs done by the 23 expedition, but also establishing their own new routes.
These are amazing photos of the mountaineering.
Also, is this going to go in your backpack?
Nothing is left to chance. Endless meetings are spent poring over every detail.
What is our safety policy? How much food do we need? What happens if we encounter these particular conditions on the ice? That all has to be planned out, because by the time you're on Svalbard and it's -5, it's blowing a gale, it's a blizzard, and you realise you've forgotten your crampons, it's too late.
I thought it's your exchange.
So, an equally vital part of the training is practicing rope skills.
Okay, Liam.
For anyone involved in mountaineering, they are literally a lifeline, even if you have to improvise sometimes.
This little fence thing is the edge of the crevasse, and I'm in the crevasse, as you can see. That's probably good. It's probably good.
He's on out now.
Whee!
Nice.
Pull me over the top.
With 29 consecutive nights in a tent, it's going to be a pretty interesting social experiment, if also adventurous challenge too.
Looks like a bit of a mess, but it feels sort of the most organised that it has done so far.
We need to know when everyone gets cranky and how we can deal with it, basically, rather than going off the wall.
So everyone has their own quirks. Liam, for example, you don't want to cross him when he's hungry. Turns out, just never quite put my finger on it. Just seemed to, at random points, become very grumpy. When I consulted his girlfriend about it, it turned out that you just have to feed him a Snickers bar and he'll soon cheer up.
I think Snickers bars would be good, and also some general trail mix, I think.
This is 32 days of snacks. Jamie, give us a lift. How heavy do you reckon it is?
I would say that is fat boy levels of snacks.
Just coming back friends is a real success for me. I want this to be a real memorable experience.
Time now is 9:50 and we're leaving here about just before 6 tomorrow morning.
As a final part of the team's preparations, they must learn how to deal with the dangers posed by the large population of polar bears in Spitsbergen, especially in the coastal areas. The team enlist the help of Endre Fjord Jørgensen as their 5th member.
Just push this down.
His wealth of expertise in Arctic safety is invaluable, though he is at pains to stress the use of a range of scare tactics if confronted by a bear, and that firearms are a last resort.
We're here in Longyearbyen at the rifle range, and we're just topping up our training, as it were.
So it's only if it comes towards you. Even try throwing snowballs at it, just making hell of a noise, and so the shooting is really very last best. But still, you had a good position, aggressive and stuff. I think.
I don't really like cows, so I don't know why I'm going to Svalbard where there's 3,000 polar bears. Polar bears are a pretty visceral risk. There's no one fail-safe strategy. You have to have a mixture of different techniques which stack the odds in your favour.
July 28th, 2016, and there is no turning back. For Will, who admits to being prone to seasickness, the news is not so good.
The weather's not sounding as fine as we hoped, so we're going to have to wait and see.
That's good for you, isn't it? Because you love the sea.
I love the sea.
I've done it, mate.
The team face a long and bumpy boat journey from Longyearbyen to the expedition landing site on the northeast of the island. A journey of just over 400 kilometres.
Now we're ready to go.
Pretty choppy out here.
Conditions go from bad to worse.
seas are too rough. So we're trying to think of another solution because if these guys have to turn round.
The chances of making it to their planned destination look increasingly slim. Will and James are suffering in the huge, stomach-churning seas. The skipper pushes on. After 20 hours in treacherous conditions, the team is forced to abandon hopes of reaching the original landing site and instead aim for a point some 3 kilometres farther down the coast. Day 2 doesn't quite go according to plan. It's now a huge challenge, simply disembarking by dinghy after landing at the wrong site.
We've been marooned.
Marooned, exhausted, but nevertheless delighted to have reached the start of their adventure.
Can't believe finally done it, we're here. Spitsbergen Express, Spitsbergen Express. This is James, come in, over.
Have a nice trip.
Thank you very much. James out. We're all alone now.
The team have to drag their heavy pulks, each weighing in at more than 80 kilograms, to the first campsite, while desperately in need of sleep. Even Brees, the only expedition husky on the trip, is relieved after suffering the ill effects of the boat journey. He's actually a cross between a German Shepherd and an Alaskan Husky, especially important as a faithful guard on polar bear watches. In this cold, isolated wilderness, the team find it hard going. There are meltwater streams everywhere. Much has clearly changed since the 23 expedition.
There's way more sea here we can see than in there.
Liam and James got the ruler out at one point. That was too much scientific technicality for me. Just here to walk the dog.
It seems almost impossible to line up each part of the photo to what we're seeing on the ground. So we can line up, say, part of the bay to one of the islands out there.
Having fully rested, the first mission is to try to retake this photograph at Doom Point, taken by Robert Fraser. But finding the exact spot nearly a century later won't be easy.
The glacier has retreated a huge amount since this photo was taken. You picture now it's right up above the cliffs.
The idea was to go and find the original point of that photo where it was taken, where Robert Fraser set up his tripod 93 years ago and literally take the exact same photo. And it did take us a while. We nearly gave up at one point. The last ditch attempt, I ran up to the summit and tried to find it, and I just held the photo up next to me and looked at it, and it was exactly the same. It was really cool.
After hours of searching, Liam finally manages to recreate Fraser's photograph, revealing a huge reduction in the extent of the ice cap. Now they realise that their intended landing site would no longer have given them easy access onto the ice. The plan is to try to repeat more than 20 of the original expedition photographs. Next, it's time to get the drone into the air, but not without a few technical problems.
Drone battery's a bit chilly, so we just need to warm them up before we can get flying.
Using the drone will give the team a chance to record imagery of Spitsbergen that the 23 expedition could only have dreamed of. In the weeks ahead, the drone will play a vital role in mapping the glaciers. For now, the results are quite simply breathtaking.
Coming around the corner off the moraine, seeing all this ice just everywhere, it was just ridiculous. And but one of the best things is you can't actually see here is there's a big sort of sinkhole. So there's this big lake behind us, and the river that drains out to the sea kind of runs this way, and there's a big gorge, and there's a massive hole, and there's probably like 20 or 30 metres down to the water, and it's really cool.
At one point we must have just come over a rise, and suddenly the view behind me opened up and the sun had just come out. And I've seen ice caps before in Greenland, and I've seen glaciers in the Alps, but there was something about this one, I think perhaps because of the sense of the fact that the water has dropped. It's left these spectacular just chunks of ice, just kind of marooned, and the diminished water level makes them stand out even more.
Actually, looking back to the 23 expedition is quite a good guide. So some of the pictures that were taken from around here were taken a few days later, so we're certainly not behind schedule.
Robert Fraser, who was a mathematician at Cambridge's account in the Geographical Journal, and he talks about the landscape in the most amazing kind of evocative prose, and he really captures quite how powerful it was for him. And I think something which must have made the landscape particularly special in the 1920s was the fact that these men were coming to it for the first time. They were coming to a landscape which not only they had never been to, but was not even mapped. They had no idea what was over the horizon. We knew there was going to be a lake here. We didn't know it was going to be quite as stunning and as choked with ice sculptures as it is.
If we were here when the water level was really high, it would have been a great danger. But now we know that the level is very low. We can see that all those icebergs, they indicate or they tell us that the water level has been much higher.
Why is it that they didn't land where we landed? And why is it that they didn't talk about this in great detail? Because this is crazy, this is absolutely phenomenal.
I think the novelty of carrying all your crap across this sort of tricky landscape, it'll definitely wear off at some point. But I do have my expedition surprise for, I think, day 22 or something like that for the team, so hopefully that should perk us up.
The team now head away from the coast across the Loven Plateau. Fortunately, the snow is firm and the weather good, a far cry from the terrible storms which blighted the 23 team. They took 4 days to complete this leg of the journey, against just 8 hours for their successors to reach camp a few kilometres from Bear Bay Glacier. Even with today's modern equipment, setting up camp requires great attention to detail if the team are to stay the course. Conditions in Spitsbergen can change dramatically at short notice, so everything has to be secure and protected. As this will be base camp for a number of days to allow the team to explore the surrounding area, a little comfort can go a long way.
Well, we're here for a few days now, so I thought I might make myself a little pallet in here. If I'm feeling energetic tomorrow, I might take it down another level and put some shelves in as well. We're here for a while now, so there's no reason not to make it a little bit of luxury.
No luxury needed for Brice, whose husky coat is able to withstand temperatures down to minus 50 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, I'm really knackered actually, and really looking forward to this guy, the trusty chicken tikka with rice.
Ensuring the team are well fed and expedition fit means carrying a vast array of essential kit and first aid.
Salmon and pesto pasta.
Half the weight they must carry in their pulks accounts for a little over 40 kilograms of rations each, mostly freeze-dried food and snacks, enough to provide some 5,000 calories a day per person.
Interesting note on this trail mix. When we first started, I thought it tasted absolutely disgusting, and now it tastes amazing.
The spectacle of Jamie's stripping off in biting cold temperatures may seem bizarre, even foolhardy, but his sacrifice is all in a good cause.
Reef photography at its finest, Jamie.
Sandy Irvine thought for some daft reason that here was a good place to get half naked. I can tell you there are several reasons why it's not a good place to get half naked. One is it's bloody freezing. The other is this rock is so sharp. And the third reason is, not only is the rock sharp, making it very hard to stand, if you fall over, you fall down that thing.
This is the somewhat most iconic picture of the trip, where Sandy is seen standing naked with this beautiful backdrop. Well, that's great. Oh wow, that actually looks quite real, that does.
And this is the original photograph of Sandy Irvine, minus his attire.
Perfect. Now, Liam.
Yeah.
All Liam has to do is replicate the shot. Alongside each other, these iconic expedition pictures are as good as identical. Mission accomplished. Just a matter of metres away, the team stumble across the remnants of one of the 1923 camps, which had lain undiscovered for nearly a century.
A lot of food, a lot of tins. It's been hungry.
Oxo.
But it's definitely Oxo.
That's incredible.
Is Oxo literally just like a beef cube?
It's like a beef stock.
Old tins, clothing, and wooden tent pegs preserved in the dry Arctic conditions.
Sound of the 1920s, that is.
But has Jamie spotted an opportunity?
I'm guessing they got it for free from the Oxo company. So if anyone from Oxo's marketing division is out there, we have some great footage which we'd be prepared to come to an agreeable price over. They're wearing these kind of canvas jerkins which are done up with bits of ribbon.
So do we think that this bit of ribbon was perhaps part of their clothing?
I think it was probably a drawstring or something like that.
And it would have sat like this against the body like that.
Before the days of little elasticated drawstring. That was pitched here, and the evidence up there is to prove it.
Next, the team take advantage of the weather before it starts to close in, heading farther along the glacier to set up a new camp.
We think that the 1923 expedition came along and named this the Carpet. You can see this mountain from way, way back on the Loven Plateau or Balderfonner, where we came about 4 or 5 days ago. And this thing this peak that we're on now, it stays above that, and you can see it the whole way.
Channel mode.
Radio check, coming all stations please.
Hey Jamie, this is James, hearing you loud and clear.
Visibility is starting to diminish, but spirits remain high.
You can basically go to Poincaré Top and climb it tomorrow.
Day 10, and the team are discussing their next mountaineering challenges. But James is also concerned that their use of the drone isn't yet fulfilling their scientific objectives.
What we're doing with the mapping is essentially just taking loads of pictures from the drone. But in order to make the maps more accurate, more precise, what you need to do is have points on the ground which you know the location of definitely.
Jamie to all stations, rest requesting radio check. Come in please, over.
The team set out on a mission to conduct more accurate drone mapping. As they strive to reach their target destination, with a few tumbles on the way, Jamie identifies the first of a series of serious obstacles they'll face in the coming days.
Yeah, we've got this meltwater stream right in the middle of the transect. GPS requires us to go straight over there.
We could conceivably start from here, but we will need to go further down in a minute. And the weather's sort of closing in at the moment.
I think there are parts where you could step across with your crampons. If we can bridge it, I mean, for example, there's a constriction there.
I think you want poles actually, so you can plant them.
This fast-running, icy meltwater poses a risky challenge. There is no option but to cross to the other side.
He got me!
Hey.
Jamie, can I pass you the rope?
For hours on end, the team worked tirelessly, criss-crossing the icy and sometimes hazardous landscape to a range of locations which could be used as mapping control points for the drone.
Oh,
Go back, go back, go back.
reverse. Yeah, it would seem we have arrived at the fabled snow swamp. Back up the ice screw anchorage.
The team rope up as an added security measure while negotiating the many crevasses on the glacier.
Do you want to help you across, Jamie?
Down, actually.
Yeah? Do you want some help carrying the pulp across?
Yeah, I might actually.
What are you making? Okay, just give me the other side.
You got it?
Yeah.
The ingenious use of local rocks is a game changer.
Okay, so now we've got a cross on the ground which the drone should be able to see when we make the map. I'm just going to take the GPS of the centre of the cross such that we can make the map more accurate.
You good?
I'm just registering the control points.
What?
It needs to be stationary.
.79 degrees, 0.23493.
By taking a series of aerial images which pinpoint the makeshift location markers, in conjunction with the precise GPS coordinates for each, it's possible to generate a more accurate map of the area. These are then processed into 3D digital elevation models using powerful software. With up to 100 times the resolution of satellite mapping, the final results are an unparalleled level of detail of Bear Bay Glacier. We can see the cavernous crevasses, dynamic rivers of ice, wafer-thin snow bridges, and gushing meltwater channels. An extraordinary snapshot of an ever-changing Arctic landscape. There is little doubt that the results have contributed greatly to the techniques used in remote field mapping, as well as to the understanding of the region's topography. While still in the area known as the Carpet, Will and Endra set out to reproduce this classic image of Odell in the foreground of the lower reaches of Bear Bay Glacier, looking north towards the Loven Plateau. In the recreation, it's Will who mimics the Odell pose. The team face freezing fog and almost white-out conditions as they head to their next destination at the base of Poincaré-Toppen, also known as Mount Deception by the 23 expedition, because they were unsure of its name. Over the coming days, remaining focused is vital to avoid getting lost. When the weather closes in, it's time to take cover, as always with a mix of resignation and humour.
Snowy and white and miserable outside, so we decided to put the Greek shelter up.
I thought it was absolutely fine outside, personally. The exits are here, here, and here.
The icy conditions are playing havoc with both kit and clothing.
Very carefully removed.
So we've just arrived here at so-called Fox Camp, or how it was known to the original bunch.
They called it Fox Camp because famously Sandy Irvine got his rifle out and shot an Arctic fox, which he and Geoffrey Milling proceeded to skin, and I don't know if they all ate it, but some of them ate it.
Here seems the ideal spot for an important milestone, the long-standing explorers' tradition of flying the flag for sponsors and country.
It was a massive, long slog through the fog all day today. Just as we come to camp, the sun comes out and we're feeling good. There we go. See, there is the Hinlopen Strait, and that's the end of the Bear Bay Glacier where we were a few days ago.
Almost to the day, Odell and Fraser made their way up the east face here. They noted in their diaries they used crampons. I think using crampons was a little unusual for them, it seems. But they made their way up and did some photographs off the summit. We're hoping to re-photograph those as well today.
The team's hard work pays off. The weather breaks and they head to the summit, where Will successfully retakes Fraser's panoramic photograph from the peak of Poincaré-Toppen, revealing greater snow cover than in 1923, when the island had had a much warmer summer. The mountain now provides an even greater reward, as Endre leads the team back down the face. It's now that the 2016 team witness the majesty of the icy wilderness ahead that they planned to see for so long. Their reward, spectacular views from Poincaré-Toppen of the Atomfjella Mountains. From here they could scour the horizon and see for the first time their expedition destinations ahead of them.
Had a cloud inversion below, which seems to be closing in a bit now, but it meant that from the summit we had brilliant sunshine and our first proper views of the Atomfjella.
Some say they're the Alps of the Arctic. Endre won't stop going on about them. Sandy Irvine and Noel Odell famously set up a first ascent there.
79 degrees and 6 minutes north, 17 degrees 3 minutes east, lies one of the key mountaineering objectives that the team has been looking forward to. Irvinfjellet, or Mount Irvine, whose spectacular ridge was first climbed by Noel Odell and Sandy Irvine in 1923. Now about to attempt the same route, the 2016 expedition.
Finally cleared up and the rock looks pretty good. Not quite clear what the route was. We tried and tested bars. They said it was tricky in places. Alpine Legends heading off.
Alpine Legends?
Yeah, that's a camera joke.
Yeah.
That's the first self-congratulatory remark you've had on camera. Off we go. Right. See you later.
Good luck, guys.
See you in a few hours.
Have a good route.
While Liam and Will remain behind to focus on the aerial filming of the climb, James, Jamie and Endra make the second ascent of the ridge, summiting within a limited weather window. There could be no better inspiration to a mountaineer than Odell's diary entry, August 17, 1923.
The view from the top in every direction was stupendous, very like the Italian side of the Matterhorn, and looking impregnable.
For the entire ascent, calm weather and blue skies prove ideal conditions.
Hundreds of parties have tried, but none have succeeded.
Odell likened the climb in character to that of Tower Ridge on Ben Nevis, the highest peak in Britain. Sandy Irvine said in his diary that they reached the summit at 01:25, August 17, 1923, and described the view from the top as being absolutely stupendous. Odell had also described the spectacular scenery, as fine as any amongst the highest Alps. For steeper sections, the team decide to rope up, with the summit at around 1,500 metres now in striking distance.
Then I'll flake it out from this end.
It takes the team about 6 hours to climb the route. It's a special milestone in the 2016 expedition, the first team to complete this climb since their Oxford counterparts 93 years earlier.
The weather's now closing in somewhat, but we made it to the summit just in time. There's a few sections of slightly dodgy rock and we roped up a little bit in the middle. But overall, I think that was absolutely spectacular. I'd say it's probably the best alpine route I've ever done.
The mark of an Oxford blue oarsman on the size of the stones that have been used to construct it. So we're wondering whether or not this was the original cairn that Odell and Irvine talk about erecting when they got to the top.
Though conditions are starting to deteriorate, the team return grateful for the glorious alpine weather.
The weather in the beginning of the day was absolutely brilliant. It was warm up there, it was in the middle of the sun.
Recognition too for the excellent teamwork.
The setting, the the company.
Good day.
The team must prepare now for what's to come. The forecast is grim. Day 17 and the expedition takes a turn for the worse. A howling storm engulfs the campsite. The team has no choice but to hunker down.
And we're all totally locked to the ground here, pinned here on Gallibrine just below Mount Irvine.
The storm force gales now threaten plans to repeat a key photograph at the top of Mount Irvine, taken by Odell.
There's Mount Irvine behind me. Looks pretty snowy. I'm not sure how me and Liam are going to get up there. Probably not is the answer to that. Poor Breeze here, suffering out the cold weather. Oh, poor dog. Alright then. I see the camp is absolutely coated in snow.
Another concern is the impact on equipment. These solar panels are vital for charging batteries for computers, cameras and the drone.
Not straightforward spending the whole day in a little metre by metre square or whatever it is. And I'm going to head back inside and have my lunch before this storm gets the better of me.
Thankfully, the tents are holding up to the storm.
Hopefully it's going to blow itself out in the next 6 hours, and then we can think about what tasks we have to achieve in the next 48 hours in terms of our final goals here in the Adams Yard.
Finally bought some water for breakfast. Just having some delicious looking scrambled egg with potato and pepper. Unfortunately, one of the tent pegs has pulled out, so the tent is beginning to collapse on me.
18 hours of Arctic blizzards have taken their toll, leaving their equipment buried under a metre of snow.
So I'm digging out my pole. Hopefully I'm going to find my skis under here somewhere. So it's an absolutely gorgeous Tuesday morning here on the Gardiner Glacier in Svalbard, and a little change in activity. We've decided to dig up the entire camp.
To make life a little more interesting, Will has somehow managed to misplace his ice axe. It's a Herculean effort to dig up the entire camp to try to find it under tons of snow. It's left to Expedition Laureate Jamie to eulogise the sad demise of poor Will's ice axe.
It shall not grow old as we who are left grow old, swept down the glacial basin, and in the morning we will remember it.
Will takes time out to get a much needed energy boost.
Get my sugar levels up with some hot chocolate.
Refueled, the team members are eager to put behind them the frustration of endless hours of confinement. Time for some more climbing.
A bit of exploratory mountaineering, following in the spirit of the 1923 expedition.
Been camp bound for the last day or so, so I think everyone's getting a bit claustrophobic, so it'd be nice to make a bit of progress into uncharted territory.
So we've decided to go up the ridge, and we are currently racking up. It's about 5 p.m. and feeling pretty good about it.
Sometimes it's worth stopping simply to revel in the experience of being an explorer.
This place is sick.
Literally no one else here.
After a day of skiing, Jamie, James and Liam decide to climb a rocky ridge on Vesterfjellet.
Matey, my knee's getting cold.
This is proving quite a tricky ascent. With cloud closing in, time running out, and yet more difficult rock ahead, the decision is made to abandon the rest of the climb. The team are now on the move again, keen to take advantage of exceptional weather, in the knowledge that what lies ahead could jeopardise the remaining days of the expedition. 93 years to the day, Will and James make their way to the top of a peak called Laplastoppen, known to the 23 team as Mount Hope, with the intention of repeating some eye-catching photographs.
So here we are, me and James are retracing the original ascent of Laplastoppen, aka Mount Hope as it was known to them.
This, the original by Robert Fraser, now faithfully repeated by Will, a stunning replication of the landscape of Spitsbergen. Back at camp, the team are exhausted and decide against a long and difficult journey to repeat certain other photographs of Newtontoppen, instead relying on the drone to do the work. Even this is a short-lived exercise, the biting cold largely to blame for draining the batteries. 2 kilometres from camp, the drone crash lands and needs to be rescued.
We've just found the drone. What have you got to say, Jamie?
Most animals, when they're unhappy, lie on their backs and wave their legs around. The drone is currently doing just that.
Looks like Droney lives to fight another day.
It's also time for the team to recharge their batteries and to plan for what's ahead.
Forwards to Newtontoppen and the Citadel. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I guess the best thing is that we got out of half a day of moving our pulks We got the others to take our pulp for a few hours, which is very generous of them.
The team have now got to grips with building snowy fortresses to protect their tents from the brunt of yet more strong winds.
You get snow on it.
They dedicate their time to planning which photographs they can hope to reproduce, as well as their next expedition milestone.
We got about 16.
So I guess the thing is, if we camp at the base of the citadel, then we have 3 days. So we move tomorrow, and then we have 2 days there.
Yeah.
One of which
could be Galileo,
the other could be Newton. Or if it's bad weather on one of those days, then you can just do Newton Toppen.
And also, it probably means that the journey to Chernichev might not necessarily take a whole day either.
The team ski to the Citadel, described by Sandy Irvine as huge granite slabs rising absolutely perpendicular to a height of over 400 feet, more than 100 metres.
Pretty scary just looking at it, yeah. If you've got any kind of imagination, it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it really draws you in. So we're going to camp here tonight and see what's what on the face. It's a bit windy, so we decided to put up the group shelter while the others go and look for a campsite.
I'm being by the Arctic.
James, Jamie, Will, Liam and Endra now find themselves in the eye of a storm they describe as biblical in strength. They battle to try to build a shelter. Conditions are worsening almost by the minute, with biting cold winds hitting speeds of up to 100 kilometres an hour. It's the lowest moment of the expedition. And Will fears the worst.
Tent's gone, the expedition is over.
Yeah, let's not tent, let's get in the group shelter. We built our shelter, which is now melting, and we're trying to make dinner.
After failing to put up their tents for fear of them being damaged, even destroyed, the only option is to erect the survival shelter.
That was really good. Nicely pitched. 11:30 at night, and it looks like we're not going to be able to put the tent up. So it looks like we're staying here for the night, unless we can dig down and make a shelter.
They huddle together for 9 hours. For the next 2 days, the weather is again the dominating force. It's as much as the team can do to remain rested and nourished and to try to stay warm.
Had a situation where I've just gone from just like a pulk full of dry kit through to everything being soaked. I haven't got any spares.
Liam, James and Jamie are all suffering the effects of extreme cold to their toes. At least now they have managed to put up a tent.
Anyway, we're about to sit down and watch a film about drug dealing in the comfort of our nice warm tent. It's a far cry from 48 hours ago.
When the weather finally breaks, there's an opportunity to marvel at the citadel.
Oh man, check out this crack here. I think it's pretty cool. I'm definitely not really leading any of the first ascents 200 kilometres from the nearest medical help, but I'm more than happy to let Will go up.
Day 24. Newtontoppen, the highest mountain in Spitsbergen, is the next major ascent. At just over 1700 metres in the northeast of the island, Newtontoppen was named in the late 19th century after the scientist Sir Isaac Newton.
So after a lengthy pre-departure preparation, we are all heading off to Newtontoppen, which is Svalbard's highest mountain by 1 metre.
A three-man team comprising James, Jamie and Endra decide to attempt a new unclimbed route on a striking granite ridge on the west of the mountain, very much in the spirit of exploration of the 23 team.
Plan is to straight up there. Lovely rosy pink granite above us, which certainly looks more solid than any rock we've seen so far.
As they reach the top via the West Ridge, all around are breathtaking views of Spitsbergen.
Gotta have your booty looking most fine. So we've just finished climbing the West Ridge on Newtontoppen, and we believe that it's the highest, we believe it's the first ascent of the ridge. So I think there's going to be a bit of discussion as to what to name the route.
The route will now and forever be known as Gardiner, or the Gardiner Ridge. The wind may have picked up, but James and Jamie have one final task before their descent.
I don't know how many tens of miles away is Doom Point, where we began 3 weeks ago. You can see the Bear Bay Glacier. It's been a constant feature in this expedition.
Liam and Will have the job of recreating photographs from the 23 expedition after skiing up a different route.
Here we are on Markovtoppen, which is an outer line peak from the real deal Newtontoppen behind me. And we're just squaring away some reef photography here, particularly the view looking towards Newtontoppen and the Aspenfjella.
The reef photography is probably the most rewarding thing. Finding the original spot of a photograph that was taken nearly a century ago, standing in the exact same place that they were, it gives you that sort of connection back to the original trip.
Back at base camp, there's a highly anticipated and memorable moment.
Liam has just unveiled his long-awaited expedition surprise, with which he is going to instantaneously lift the mood of the group. What have you got for us, Liam?
I've got mandarin segments in juice from Tesco, and we've all just opened it up. We've been greeted with a lovely coating of sort of chopped up bits of orange.
Slightly icy.
Slightly icy, but it hasn't frozen and exploded the tin, which is good. I've just been sniffing it. It smells super zesty. And none of us have had fruit or veg fresh for 25 days now, so it's going to be really, really nice to
have some fresh fruit.
Bite into the fresh fruit and drink the juice from this can. To the East Spitsbergen ice cap.
So good. So good. Jivili, as the Albanians say. Has it got a good nose? Full bodied.
That smells really good. Sweet and yeah.
It's now.
5th week brew ceremony.
Oh,
amazing, melting your mouth.
Day 26, and the team make an ascent of Chernyshevfjellet to reach a Russian beacon, where they plan to recreate an iconic photograph, originally featuring Odell, Milling and Irvin, taken by Fraser. The 2016 version features James, Jamie and Will, taken by Liam, one for the scrapbook.
Okay, open it.
Astonishingly, just a matter of metres away, the team find a small, well-preserved canister, originally left by Russians in 1901. Inside, a time capsule of artefacts from different expeditions. One in particular proves very special.
Hold that.
This is too good to be true.
What does it say?
Visited by the Topographical Party, Merton College, Oxford, Arctic Expedition 1923. Signed August 21st, 1923.
The signatures on the note are as clear as the day they were written. Signed by Odell, Fraser, Irvin and Milling. The team take it in turn to add their names to a piece of history for future explorers. The expedition is nearing its end, with Billen Bay now in sight. But there's no time to rest. The team head for the Nordenskjold Glacier, where they have a race against the clock to retake one final but vital photograph from the top of Mount Robert.
Got about 12 hours to try and get this really spectacular photograph, which will hopefully give us a very good indication of how the glaciers may or may not be changing. But in order to let us get that photo, we had to send half the team off to climb the mountain, which means that the other half of us, myself, Liam and Will, are left to move the pulks through the last stage of the Nordenskjold Glacier. And this glacier is by far the most crevassed and meltwater riven that we've seen so far.
This glacier is probably the biggest single glacier we've been on so far. It's a couple of kilometres across and poses some pretty serious challenges.
The other thing you're also thinking about is that we are now very near the coast, which brings the polar bear risk. The polar bear risk is always greatest when you're in little gullies and meltwater channels where a bear could spring up on you from an ambush at any time.
3, 2, 1, go.
Me, Will and Jamie were tasked with moving 5 pulks down this horrendously hummocky dry glacier, while Endra and James went off to Mount Robert to repeat a photograph that was taken in 1921 by an Oxford University expedition that came to these parts. We'd sort of divided and conquered, and it was really, really satisfying because we managed to achieve our rephotography goal.
That goal was to show the huge extent to which the glacier had retreated in nearly a century of shrinking ice, in some places by more than 3 kilometres. Who knows by how much in another century?
And it was beautiful just descending here to this camp, greeted by this awesome 8-hour sunset that spread itself over this glacier, and it was just absolutely magical.
After 32 days on the ice, the team have now reached the end of their journey. These intrepid explorers have written their small part in the history books, and there is now time for reflection on what this expedition has meant to them and how they have been changed by their epic retracing of Spitsbergen 1923.
The biggest success has really been just completing a successful crossing.
When you think of the Arctic, maybe you think of huge expanses of sort of bare, barren ice cap, and Svalbard's not at all like that. Svalbard is full of very different, very glaciated, different landscapes.
We encountered some pretty horrendous weather, and I think
because of the training we'd done, we certainly stacked the odds in our favour.
Think back and what will you remember most, and of course that storm we had, that's something that maybe not a highlight in that sense. I'll remember most of the trip for quite a while, I think.
I think the biggest thing for me was that we managed to get across the ice cap successfully, safely, and remained friends.
We've succeeded on almost pretty much, well, actually all fronts.
Yeah, we had science going on, we had mountaineering, we had a film to make.
This is the somewhat most iconic picture of the trip.
The reef photography was absolutely great. I mean, that was I guess what the whole project was about, was going back and retaking these photographs. And we absolutely smashed that, I thought, with 20, 30 photographs.
There were times when it got fairly serious out there, and it was pretty, if not dangerous, it was pretty uncomfortable. And there were times when I was really having to go to my happy place during the storm.
The strength of the reef photography lies more in going to understand what the hardships and what the nature of undertaking this expedition 93 years ago was.
And it must have just been so much worse without the proper equipment that we had back in 1923. And I think it speaks volumes about the men who went on that expedition.
The importance of sort of retracing is that you put yourself in someone else's footsteps and you can connect with a group of people that were here quite a long time ago.
It is a large weight off my shoulders now that we're all home safe.
I'll miss it.
What was that? Who did it?
Whoops.
When you're pitching to the big boys, you've got to look good.
You put the mic in the shot.
Sorry, got too excited.
Is this a serious bit of footage, or is this just you playing with the camera?
No, we're capturing the harsh realities of polar travel.
The heroic age of exploration is definitely dead. Here is Will preparing for this expedition, complete with Chateauneuf-du-Pape.
Was it Chateauneuf-du-Pape?
Yeah, 2009, it was bloody good.